Hi everyone, I'm Sally and welcome to today's Atta webinar. Today I'm joined by Stefano Cheli, who is the owner of Kitich Forest Camp, together with his wife Liz. Stefano has been very involved in Kenyan tourism all of his life, and he's also an Atta Advisory Board member. Now, before I begin, I would just like to remind everyone listening that if anybody has any questions during the presentation, please feel free to type those into the Q&A box, which should show on your screen. I will then field these at the end to Stefano. And if you miss any information, please don't worry, as a recording of the webinar will be sent out to everyone afterwards, which will include some contact details should you have any further questions. I'll now hand over to Stefano, who's going to speak to you all today about Kitich Camp in the Matthews Range in northern Kenya. Stefano, over to you.
Thank you, Sally, and hello, everybody. It's quite odd speaking to everybody and not seeing their faces and their reactions, and it is my first webinar, so I do request you all to be kind on your questions. As you know, I'm a very shy person. Kitich Forest Camp. I'm here with Petra, who runs the marketing for NAT, Tamsin, who is the CEO of NAT, the New African Territories, and Liz. Kitich has always been a real love of ours. It's in the Namanyak Conservancy. It's a fabulous ancient forest, an indigenous forest, and one of the few remaining indigenous forests in East Africa. It's rich with prehistoric cycads and this beautiful crystal clear river that you can swim in. The valley that Kitich is in is called the Ngeng Valley, which is the name of the river. And thanks to Kitich being there for about 40 years now, it has protected this valley. It stopped communities coming in and building bomas and bringing cattle in. And the cattle, the livestock issue is always a very present issue that we have to deal with. But our relationship with the community is getting better and better, and it is a truly magic place. Some of you have been there already in the past. I tried to buy it in the early 80s and failed, and then again in the early 90s, failed, and then eventually managed to buy the Kitich camp from Giulio Bertolli, who was this wonderful, eccentric Italian from the Bertolli olive oil family, which some of you, I'm sure, met. I'll take you to the next slide. The Namanyak Community Conservancy is about 800,000 acres, owned and managed by the local Samburu community. The Matthews Mountains covers about 900 square kilometers, and its peak gets to about 8,000 feet. The camp itself is about 4,500 feet. So you'd think it should be quite warm there, but thanks to the forest and the dew that the forest creates, it's quite a cool temperature place to live in. The camp is set on the side of a lovely glade, and I'll just take you on to show you a slide of Kenya, which you all know. The top where you see the cycad leaf, that's the Namanyak Conservancy area in the Matthews Range. And Kitich Camp is right bang in the middle, up inside the forest. I think some of you know that of Sarara. Sarara is right on the edge of the Matthews Range, at the feet of it, facing east, but Kitich is in the middle of it, up much further high. Kitich, the only problem that we've had over the years is access. Now, I remember when we started doing safaris in 1985, we used to actually drive clients from Nairobi to Samburu up to Marsabit, across the Chalbi Desert, Lake Turkana, Maralal. We used to go to Kitich at the time, and then from Kitich we would drive down to Baringo, Lake Nakuru, the Mara, and back again. And it was real safari time with clients from all over the world. And we used to sometimes spend 8-9 hours a day in a car, but that was what safari was all about. Nowadays, it seems that we need instant gratification, and clients, if they have to drive for 2 hours, start having long faces. and we've sort of completely lost the reason to be on safari. The covering ground, seeing fabulous sceneries, culture, and then of course getting to the national park, the national reserve, the forest, and seeing the wildlife that's around there. One of Kenya's great things, which I always used to say and still is today, that 70% of Kenya's wildlife is outside national parks and national reserves. And I think that's something that one always needs to remember. And we would love it to stay that way. It's getting more and more difficult with meat poaching and stuff, but that's how we would love to hopefully have it for many more years. So here you've got a magnifying section of the Matthews Range, and you can see where Lewa is, and the main road that goes past Samburu Archer's Post, Kalama, where Samburu Saruni is, and then up past the Reteti Elephant Sanctuary to Marsabit. You've got the other road that just past Kalama goes towards Wamba, and then further to the east, you've got Loisaba. And on this map, we've sort of tried in the most simple way to give you some driving distance times. You've got Loisaba to Kitich takes 4 hours, and it's the most fabulous drive through fairly dry, deserty country with beautiful rock outcrops and mountain ranges and stuff. From Kitich to Westgate, where Sasab is about a 3-hour drive. From Kitich to Kalama is about a 3-hour drive. And on to Lewa, so from Kitich to Lewa is 4 hours. All these areas are easily accessible, and obviously the roads change depending on the rainy period and how much roadworks has taken place. But on an itinerary, you could easily use Lewa and then Kitich. You could easily use any of the properties in Samburu, whether it's Saruni or Sasab, or which we work very closely with, and then you could go up to Kitich, and you see a completely different area, a completely different ecosystem, a real forest. And there's not, I think we're the only camp in East Africa that is inside a truly indigenous forest where people can walk. And so those are the things that we often hear. Oh, we would love to do more walking. Oh, we want to be off the beaten track. Oh, we hate masses of tourists. Well, Kitich gives you the option of winning all those points. And yes, there may be some driving. So if you take a scheduled flight from Nairobi to Kalama, you then have to drive for 3 hours to get to Kitich. But it's a game drive. It's a culture drive, and it's something that I would encourage. Going into Loisaba, there is a few properties in that area. There is Sosien, Loisaba with its 2 camps, Sabuk, Olmalu, all places that you all know, but you could easily attach a drive to Kitich from any of those areas there. So this is the typical sort of drive in that northern country. There's dry riverbed after dry riverbed that you cross, and I really say it's a real safari. So scheduled flights available to Samburu Kalama, Samburu Westgate, Loisaba or Lewa. Charter flights can land in Gilai airstrip, which is just 10 kilometers game drive away from Kitich camp. And again, depending on the condition of the road to get to camp, it can be a 15-minute drive or it can be a 40-minute drive. So a lot depends on the condition of the road. Road transfers available from Samburu, Loisaba and Lewa. This is Mount Ololokwe, which is that big sort of, I call it the Panettone mountain that you can see from Samburu. But we've got helicopters in the area in Nanyuki that we call in, and they can do a flight from Kitich to the top of Ololokwe. It's the most stunning view. You can fly up the Sukuta Valley in the Rift Valley, or you can go up to Lake Turkana. So, you can do these fabulous day trips by helicopter with your clients based at Kitich. In the foreground there, you can see the prehistoric cycad plant, which is endemic. It's a specific one that's endemic to Kitich, to the Matthews, I should say. The forest is 200,000 acres of forest. A biological bonanza is how the BBC described it. and they also called it a sky island. Why a sky island? Because out of total desert, you get this mountain range that shoots up with a full-on tropical forest on it, and hence a sky island. Over 200 bird species, 150 species of butterflies. The birds are stunning, and in this valley, the orioles seem to be bigger and louder. The elephants, when they trumpet, sound louder, but because it just echoes down this valley. I've mentioned the prehistoric cycad plants, wild orchids, and a true forest experience. The camp is a traditional classic style safari camp, 6 tents, of which 3 are double tents and 3 are twin tents. We have this deck in front of the actual main area. It's run by solar power 24 hours. We have Wi-Fi on a VSAT system at reception only. It's a bit slow, so we ask people not to download or upload big files. A water hole in the riverfront in front of camp, and of course the usual campfire area. This is the lounge and dining area. And Sumulan, our trusted waiter who's from the area, he's been a waiter at Kitich for 20 years. I just need to give you a little bit of history background. Kitich was first built by a gentleman called Miles Burton, who was a hunter. And he had a camp in Meru, a camp in the Mara, which is now Fig Tree Camp. And unfortunately, he died in a plane crash. Now, some of you may have heard of Pierre Burton, who used to actually guide for Kelly and Peacock. He's now a freelance private guide, and he is the son of Miles Burton. So that was about 40 years ago. It then changed hands a few times, but this camp is not a new camp. This valley is not new. It's just a magic place that we want people to come and visit. This is your lounge and dining area. Like I said, it's maximum 6 tents, which is just 12 beds. We encourage people to take it over privately. You know, if you've got a group of 6 people, of 8 people, and you say, actually, we just want to have Kitich to ourselves, talk to us, because we will give you a rate where you don't have to pay too much for those empty beds. The deck in front of the glade and the river. And here you've just got more pictures of that main area. And our lovely campfire. At the end of the day, we always sit around this campfire, have our great bitings, as we call them here in East Africa, and the gin and tonic and a beer that good walking clients always appreciate. The rooms are a typical sort of Meru tent, quite big, about 4.5 meters by 4 meters is the actual tent. Then you've got a changing area, which is about 4 meters by 3 meters, is the foreground in this picture that you're looking at. And then you've got another area just behind the, so that's your double tent looking the other way, and you can see your changing area. And then just beyond, you've got your shower, which is under the stars. You can gaze up at the stars, and you've got your flush toilet system next to it, which I was advised I shouldn't take a picture of to show you, but it's a very nice flush toilet. The activities. You can have gentle walking or serious hiking, depending on how fit you are, how big the group is. We do worry about buffalo and elephant, and we take the necessary precautions. Our Samburu and Ndrobo guides have lived in this area for all their lives, and we have a way of them walking ahead and warning us, and it really is a wonderful adventure. We have quad bikes recently purchased, and this is to actually go out, not in the forest, but in the other direction towards the cultural villages, and to take you down to the Ruteti Elephant Sanctuary. Visit the sanctuary, general wildlife encounters, cultural visits, swimming in the river, birding, and bush meals. Now, just on this, I want to just quickly describe you a day. Now, we have 22 different walks at Kitich, of which at least 8 are always active. You know, we've cleaned them up. It's comfortable walking. And the main walk is a 2.5 hour along the river, and we crisscross the river as we go along. And that takes you to the end of the walk, which is this wonderful pool that you'll see in a minute. We'll see elephants, sometimes buffalo, bushbuck, waterbuck. These are the quad bikes that I was telling you about, but I'll just go back one slide. So you get to this pool and you swim, have a cup of coffee, and then you walk back to camp. So the total walking is probably about between 4 and 5 hours. And then clients relax in camp, they have lunch. Sometimes we will organize a picnic lunch halfway back, or sometimes we just take them all the way back to camp itself. And in the afternoon, we do a more gentle walk, just an hour or 2 hours, depending on the fitness of the clients. Or we jump on the quad bike and we take everybody to the Maasai village. That's our plan. Some people will be horrified about quad bikes and the noise, and is that really green? But we feel that if it's done properly and it's done in the sort of open area where there is less wildlife and away from camp, I think it does give something else for clients to do. It also allows us to go down to Reteti, which you can see here. You've got the quad bike with the Samburu guide on it. But the middle picture is the view down to the Reteti Elephant Sanctuary. It is a 26-kilometer drive, door to door. And we're just working on the road now, but just jumping on a quad bike and going down, all the way down to Reteti, which is always still in Namagnac, to see this new elephant sanctuary is an absolute magic thing to do. This is again a view of the spot where you drive down to go to Reteti, and we've also had quite a few sundowners on this spot here. Like I said, 150 different butterflies in this forest. It's just stunning. It's just truly stunning. Elephants, river, fish, barbel, catfish. Here is us on a walk, and as you're walking along, you have to sort of crisscross the river a few times. You really get close to nature itself and start asking questions about the small things, the insects, the butterflies, the spider webs, the bird life, and the different vegetation which we have there. Here you've got on our sort of walk, we were coming back, and as you can see under that big fig tree is where we were having a picnic lunch ready. Sometimes, like I said, you have a picnic lunch on your way back, and sometimes you go straight back to camp. A lovely picture of these prehistoric cycad plants. Oops, go back one. We've got this wonderful pool that you swim, and those that are brave can swing off like Tarzan off a rope. Sorry, it keeps jumping, I'm not sure why. This is everybody swimming in that same pool. Samburu and Drobo guides who think everybody's nuts. And here is Letausen, who's one of the guides who was just showing clients how to light a fire using rubbing sticks. Culture there is fantastic. There is no question that the Samburu are certainly a lot more colorful than the Maasai. The Maasai, I feel, especially in East Africa, in the Mara area, have lost it a bit. They've seen too many tourists. They're all wearing Nike Takis or running shoes. In this area, you get these people who are still very attached to their traditions. Here you've got what we call the singing whales. Now this, we can't always promise the singing whales. It's only in the moments of most drought that we get them in our area, where the Samburu have these holes that they dig, and there'll be 2 or 3 of them down these holes, and as they're passing their buckets up, they sing. That's why they're called singing wells. So it's not the wells that are singing, but it's the Samburu themselves, the herdsmen that are singing. And each particular rhythm and tune, and the cattle's record, which is their herder and therefore their trough to go to. So we can do that, but we can't always promise it. If we can sort out our road and our visit down to the Riteti Elephant Sanctuary, we will from there be able to see more singing wells, as they are permanent communities live there, and so it's easier to see this happening, which is very biblical, I have to say. Coming to the end of this little presentation, the Kitich Forest Camp is all about exploring on foot, wild walking, because you're walking in the true wilderness, home cooking, wildlife encounters on foot, a true classic safari, authentic cultures, a nature paradise for all ages, and out of the ordinary. And I add here, it is truly off the beaten track. It's a slow travel because we walk. We don't, apart from the quad bikes, we're not game driving around anywhere. It's pristine wilderness, exploring magical ancient forests, known ecologically as a sky island, fabulous birding and butterflies, and experienced team of guides and camp crew. And we have there now a new manager. He's just about 30 years old. He spent 7 years in South Africa training other guides with the Fugasa. He grew up in Kenya. He speaks Swahili and is a wonderful host. Liz and I now live on Loisaba, which is, like I said, for me, 3.5 hours drive away. For clients, I added half an hour. And it's only just a 20-minute flight. So we are in and out of Kitich on a regular basis. We would love to stay and protect this area, and we need all the support we can get from you. And that takes me to the end, and thank you very much.
Stefano, thank you so much for that. If anyone has any questions, please do type them into the box on your screen. If you wiggle your mouse around, there should be a Q&A box where you can type them into. I will then read those out to Stefano so that he can answer them for everyone. Okay, so we've got a question from Christine. What are the flight connections? Nairobi, Mara, etc.
Okay, so Christine, it's fairly easy. The scheduled flights are Nairobi to Kalama, and there's 2 or 3 flights every day, both on Safari Link and Air Kenya, and the same in Nairobi to Loisaba, both by Safari Link and Air Kenya. Those are the 2 closest points. Lewa, of course, has also lots of flights going in. And then from either Lewa, Kalama, or Loisaba, you would have to drive. We are working on possibly basing an aircraft in either Loisaba or Lewa, and then be able to offer flights, a flight transfer. But we're in the middle of trying to work that out at the moment. But like I said, a flight in to Loisaba, a light picnic lunch, and then a drive to Kitich makes a wonderful day, and the same to Kalama. I need to sorry to finish off, and from both Loisaba and Kalama, you can connect to the Masai Mara with Safari Link or Air Kenya very easily.
Thanks, Stefano. Okay, a question from Sajid about handicapped guests and whether you have facilities to assist them.
It's a bit, Sajid, it's a little bit difficult. I mean, obviously, everybody's always willing to help. We are it's on a flat ground, so it's pretty easy to push a wheelchair around, but it would be impossible to take them on a walk.
Thank you. A question from Ramona. Are children permitted in the camp? And if so, is there an age limit?
Very good question. And I should have actually included that in the presentation. We do allow children of all ages. but we will only take children on a walk that are 12 and above, unless the manager himself decides that the child of 8 that he has staying there is a very responsible and adult child who will listen to instructions while walking. So the rule is it has to be 12 years old, but there is a little bit of flexibility that we let the manager in camp make the decision on.
Thanks. A question from Bianca. How many nights would you recommend to stay at Kitich to fully enjoy all the activities?
Well, I as a general rule, have always worked with 1 night is a no-no anywhere. 2 nights is a 50% no-no, because by the time you actually arrive and then you have to sort of start thinking that you're going to leave, you're only getting 1 full day. So my general advice for any destination is that you plan on 3 nights, whether it's in Samburu, in the Mara, in Kitich. So I would say 3 nights, but because we're only walking, you could do Kitich, you could do just 2 nights at Kitich.
Okay, I'm just opening the chat box because I can see there's a few in there. So Sandy Wood says that she has a client coming in December who is not in the first flush of youth. If she can't make a full 5-hour walking trip, could she be driven back to camp?
Is this Sandy herself that's coming?
No, a client.
Sandy has been to Kitich. In fact, we did a safari to Kitich many years there together. And it was great fun, great memories. And yes, Sandy, we've got lots of different walks that we can organize for this lady. In fact, we can even drive her if she does want to go to the pool and swim. We can drive her halfway there or pick her up halfway from the pool. So we will look after her.
Okay, a question from Lisa. She says, how many people at a time do you take on the guided walks?
We try to limit it to maximum 8. Our preferred number is 6, but it's 8 people. So if we have a full camp, we organize clients to do different things, and we have different guides taking them.
Thank you. Okay, another question from Sajid, which is about sort of travel insurance, medical assistance, how far it is to the hospital, that sort of thing. Is it advisable to take out travel insurance?
So Sajid, I always suggest that you should have travel insurance for many reasons. Our camp, any client coming to a camp is an automatic member of AMREF, African Medical Air Rescue, and the Flying Doctors. So if you are, I know for a fact, if you were traveling, if your DMC was Kelly and Peacock Safaris, they automatically include, and it's mandatory that your client is a member of the Flying Doctors. They do it automatically. It's a very small charge. So you should have that. And the reason for that, if I have 2 minutes to explain it to you, is that you may have your own insurance, whether you come from the States or the UK or wherever. You may have a travel insurance, but it is essential that you have the Flying Doctors and AMREF insurance, because the minute something happens, if you have a Flying Doctors membership number, temporary while you're on safari, there are no questions asked. Flying Doctors come in and evacuate you immediately. There are no questions. If you don't have one, then you have to sort of show that you've got an international insurance, and they have to check on the insurance. And that takes time. It can take 2-3 hours, and sometimes one does not have 2 or 3 hours. So my advice is, whichever DMC you're using, always insist on them getting you the Flying Doctors membership.
Thanks very much. There's no more questions at the moment. If anyone has any while I'm speaking, okay, I can see one. Simon is asking, how long is the transfer from Ngalai airstrip to the camp?
So it's 10 kilometers. When the road is good, it takes 15 minutes. When the road is bad, it takes 40 minutes. So right at the moment, the road is bad, and we've got people working on it. NRT, who you must have all heard of, the Northern Rangeland Trust, are helping us with road building equipment, which was donated to them by the European Union. And we're hoping that they will crack on and fix this road for us. So between 15 minutes and 40 minutes, depending on the road.
Thanks, Stefano. Okay, I think that's all the questions we have for now. If anyone has any after the presentation that they think of, I'll include a contact email address on the email that's being sent out to everyone at the end, so you can feel free to reply to that. Otherwise, thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Stefano, thanks so much for the presentation, and to the team at New African Territories as well. And hope you all have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you. And thank you those that came to listen to our webinar. Thank you all.